Well, yes, it's that time of the week again, and it's time for the Grumpy Old Men. And today, somebody we know has gone out of their way in the wardrobe department.
Yeah.
Voila!
Yeah, I spent a couple days on Phuket, and I like to go shopping on Phuket. And I bought a couple shirts that were not checked or plaid. And you might have seen it on the front page of Sang Thai newspaper. It was all the rage. Everybody was talking about it. But yeah, how is it? In the comment section.
Oh,
you
don't.
like my shirt? You like my shirt? Yeah.
Well, as soon as I saw the shirt you were wearing, I rushed home and got something a little bit more outrageous.
You did, yeah.
Not going to be beaten in that department.
I had to talk him out of the feather boa, but yeah, you got something better.
And the spandex look fabulous.
Yeah.
Really look good.
Who doesn't look good in spandex?
And
Come on.
not sure about the high heels, because you are tall enough as you are.
Yeah, well, I'm giving myself blisters, that's true. We're going to have to lose the sexy boots.
Have to wear those in, I think, next time. Now, by the way, you have to look there. That's the camera, okay?
Thank you.
Because you keep on looking at yourself.
Yeah, well, there's like 2 inches of difference right there. How do you know what I'm looking at? I'm looking at the paper towels over there.
And we should talk about what is behind us. You might like to spend a minute describing the scene.
Have we not seen this set
I don't
on
think
this
so.
show?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, it's
well,
all
I
you.
should have turned on the candles. This is a set for a Boontong's video called Rain. It's a short story from an anthology called She Kept the Bar Between Them. And I've been working on it for months and months and months, because building the sets is the part I like. The shooting of the video, the recording of the video, the editing, certainly, of the video, I do not enjoy.
Hard work.
But this, recreating a Phuket Old Town Sino-Portuguese shop house.
I'll get some cutaways.
All right, thank you. I appreciate that. Building the sets is what I enjoy. So this one is complete. I have to put an awning. I have to do the road in front, maybe some telephone poles, and then I have to create rain, because the story is called Rain, and it takes place during a rainstorm. Ooh. And it's going to be easier for me to buy PVC pipe and create a practical rain effect in my living room than it would be for me to figure out how to simply add a sound effect of rain in my
you could do
editing
both.
software. No, I can't. I know which one I can do. So it's going to be a practical rain effect, which rain can only be seen when lit from behind. Practical rain, real water, can only be seen when lit from behind. So the opening shot of this coming in has to all be just the lights in the shop. So maybe I'll make a street light or something, but there can't be any source of light out here.
Okay.
And
have to be done at nighttime.
Well, I have blackout curtains that I hang in here. I'll shoot day for night.
So we're talking about all a 1 to 20 scale? What's the scale of all this?
1 to 20.
Okay, good guess.
I typically work at 1 to 10, but I asked Chamnan to build my tables and shelves for my Chinese shop house, and he built them at the scale he was comfortable with, and they're rock solid, no glue. They're just nailed together and cut beautifully straight and true. And I said, okay, I will build the rest of the set to go around it. Now I have to find 1 to 20 mannequins to fit in here. And it's a whole big thing, because the only thing available here, the conceit of the channel had always been sourced locally. Everything found here on Turtle Beach. And the only male mannequins sold are superheroes, which are grotesquely proportioned. They are,
So
their
like
chests
me.
are huge. Yeah, much like you.
Yeah.
They're all gym rats. Everything Marvel Comics ever created is a gym rat. And they just look weird. Everything else is full of what I have striven for in terms of realism. It should look, with the camera up against it, it should look like a real shop house. Except it's got Superman and Batman standing there. So I'm trying to find more human mannequins.
Who are the characters in this? They got
The
ladies and gentlemen?
The Chinese shop house owner who is selling, this is a little Nitnoy shop, and it's full of product. And he's 7th generation Chao Ko, the Phuket people. And a Burmese day laborer comes into his shop. And he treats the day laborer as old emigres will treat new emigres. He treats him disrespectfully. And hopefully there is some irony in the fact that he is the result of immigration, but he is adamantly against these new people coming in and taking jobs. So it is an exchange, a conversation between these two characters, one a Thai Chinese Phuketian and the other one a newly arrived Burmese construction worker.
Don't ruin the big twist at the end.
Yeah, I won't.
Okay.
There's not really a big twist. I mean, it ends the way you would expect.
I was trying to build it up for you. Okay.
Thank you. I appreciate
There's
that.
a huge twist at the end.
If I ever get it finished, if I ever get the set finished, there will be a huge twist at the end.
Now, just locally, there's been a big change this week, Steve. Big change.
Bum, bum, bum. What was it, Tim?
The koi aren't running anymore.
Oh, yeah.
This is the local little shrimp things. Locally they call them koi.
Koi.
And when they fish them out of the sea, and they're tiny little krill thingies. You know what I'm going to say?
Get your T-shirt now, folks. Don't touch the table.
Don't touch the fucking table. And when they lay them all out, they're sort of a dark musk, pink-coloured goo.
Yeah.
There's nothing more to describe.
It looks like tinned cat food. Or tuna. It's just shreds of pink animal matter, pink krill.
And when it dries, it sort of concentrates the taste and very pungent. And
Little bit goes a long way. That's why it's worth their while to catch these little, almost microscopic creatures, because they are very valuable and very sought after.
Well, the rumor is, hasn't been a good year.
Oh,
been a short run this year, so they've moved from the koi. I'm sure this is fascinating for everybody, and then koi.
So like
Koi.
Yeah, smile.
And they're moving into squid.
Oh, okay. It's
So
a booming squid market.
Very proudly showed me a squid that was sort of still squishy and moving and things yesterday. I said, "Would you like it?" And I went, if you can cut it up and cook it like calamari, I'll think about it. Whilst you're squashing the ants, of course, you are touching the table.
I am touching the table. I'm sorry. The ants aren't going to apologize, neither am I.
And it's interesting that this change in what's happening in the sea, just offshore, is reflected in this rather unusual weather we've had every day. Pretty much, you could say, bright sunny mornings, relatively cool with a light northeasterly breeze, and it goes around. It stays in the northeast. It lightens off, and these big sort of fluffy cumulus start accumulating in the east, and they start coming across the Isthmus of Kra.
This needs music, man. You got to lay music over this. Go on.
And they end up dumping a lot of rain all of a sudden, those sort of big, sudden tropical storms. And I had a look at the weather map this morning. It's the same weather for the next week. And so we're in the transition phase.
We're in the afternoon nap phase. There's nothing better than taking that rain as an excuse not to go anywhere or do anything and just lay down on the tile floor in front of a fan and go to sleep.
Speaking of fans, we should thank Rob from Australia.
Oh, yeah.
Rob has made his second, I think we'll use the word pilgrimage.
All right. Yeah, that's
to
sure.
Thai Muang.
Yeah, to the shrine.
And
to Buntong Shrine.
He delivered me a kangaroo. Here's a shot of the kangaroo. And thank you very much, Rob, for the kangaroo. And Joey, by the way. That's the little baby kangaroo in the pouch. It's taken pride of place on the top shelf that you can see any day on TNT. And what did he bring you?
Enough tacos to feed 15 people.
Which we had course number 2 just before today's program.
3 people ate it for dinner last night, 2 people ate it for lunch today, and we're about halfway through the meat.
And what are you going to be having for dinner tonight?
Tacos.
There you go.
Yeah.
So thank you very much, Rob, for coming up and gracing us with your presence.
He also brought me a bunch of little tchotchkes. He's moving house. It's why he keeps returning to Turtle Beach. He's looking for a place that's quieter than Phuket, like who isn't? And he's consolidating his possessions, and he's been in Rawai on Phuket for 11 years, I think. So he's got a lot of junk. And
Rawai's changed a lot in that time.
Yeah, and he's gone from a big, 3-bedroom house to a little bungalow living by himself, so he's got boxes and boxes of stuff. And he's brought me some little trinkets and new doodads and knickknacks to use in Boontong's videos, and for that I'm very grateful.
So the theme of this, by the way, is if you are going to come and visit Thai Muang, if you're going to come and visit Steve, or come and visit me, you do need to bring gifts.
Tacos, anyway. Yeah.
Tacos, kangaroo. Well, I've already got a kangaroo, so I probably don't need another one of those. I'm thinking diamond bracelets. That'd be nice. Gold bars.
Or you could just send a check and stay home.
Yes.
Yeah. The address is here's my Wise account.
I used to shoot grumpy old men on my iPhone 14, but now I've got it for my notes because we're shooting. If you're interested, if you're technically inclined, I'm shooting it on an iPad. Are you fascinated in that?
Enthralled. Yes.
One thing I wanted to talk about, because it has come up in conversation here with some of the visitations. We also had a visitation from Baz.
Yes, Baz Daniel, who's up in Khao Lak. I think he might come back today. Yeah, and a guy named Steve, another Aussie guy named Steve, dropped by a couple
Everybody
times.
in Australia is called Steve.
Yeah, there you go. I thought it was Bruce.
Steve, mate.
This is the wattle. It's the symbol of our land. You can put it in a bottle. You can hold it in your hand. I don't know. It's
Never
Monty
heard that.
Python. It's Monty Python. I'm sorry.
Okay.
All my references are from the 70s.
It sounds like the sort of thing you'd say at a citizenship, naturalisation, citizenship ceremony, which I've been to so many over the years. Well, they give you a sprig of wattle and usually a plant, a native plant, and a little flag. Can't remember, they used to give you quite a few gifts.
And the dingo takes your baby and you're an Aussie.
Yes. So we should address... No, we'll get into the elephants a little bit later, and Steve got it wrong.
We have a Steve got it wrong, big time. Big time this time.
Before we get to that, one thing that came up in conversation, and if you don't know, Steve is from the United States of America.
A little place in the middle of the ocean called the United States of America.
And I think Australia might be, here we go, a larger land mass than the USA.
Dunno, do I?
Be a close thing. Mind you, the USA makes a lot better use of its land mass. I'd say 90% of Australia is pretty much unused.
Yeah, well, I think that's geography and climate. That's not, because Australians are not industrious.
It's because we're not industrious.
America was blessed with a variety of resources, which we have nearly exhausted. But in terms of mineral resources, timber, farmland, warm water ports, 2 oceans, we were blessed by God with a multitude of resources. And for the most part, I think we've not managed them very well. But, knock on wood, there is, I hope, still time to take care of that.
Now, one thing, or 2 things that you have in the United States that much of the world doesn't have. One is tornadoes.
Oh.
You sort of get tornadoes down that sort of middle section.
Yeah, sure.
Which is something I've never experienced. It would be horrifying seeing the videos and things. Very intense and fairly capricious and random.
Sure, yeah. And Iowa, where I'm from, gets plenty of them. And we had one, a very strange experience, if I may tell a very brief story. During our divorce, which took a long, long time, took a couple of years, my ex and I were at each other's throats every day. And she moved one day. She moved from one apartment to another apartment with the kids, and she finally got all her stuff and everything into this new apartment, but they had no food. And there was nothing in the fridge. They hadn't eaten dinner. They were moving all day. And she called me and said, would you go by McDonald's and bring us some dinner?
Oh, now I'm hungry.
And I said, yeah, I'll do that for you. So I get in the car and drive, and at that moment, a tornado is coming through Iowa City. And I'm not aware. I'm just like driving my car, and God, it's really windy today. And a half mile from my house, it pushed a train off a bridge over the river, the Iowa River, and 6 of those train cars went into the water. And I'm driving around, and all the lights are out in the city, and I'm like, why isn't McDonald's open? Well, maybe I'll go to Burger King. And I drove to Burger King. And why isn't Burger King open? And there were college students downtown, frat boys, standing in the middle of the street with a bottle of beer in one hand and their phone, their flashlight in the other hand, directing people through intersections. Drunk frat
they
boys.
were taking selfies.
No. Drunk frat boys had taken over the civil authority of Iowa City in the aftermath of this terrible storm. And Steve, meanwhile, is driving through going, well, the kids are hungry. They want to go to bed. Where am I going to get food? I'm just like oblivious. And I stopped at a convenience store and got like potato chips, I think, and bottles of milk. And went to their new house and was greeted like a hero. The one and only time that I got, I got to play the father, play the provider, and face challenges in order to bring them potato chips. So that's a very pleasant memory for me. That tornado and it knocked down Victorian buildings on the National Historic Register. It pulled trees up in the city park. Yeah, it was a big, huge storm, and Steve's driving around looking for a McDonald's.
At this juncture, before I move on to the second thing that is a little bit reasonably unique to America.
Which will provoke a half-hour story.
Probably. Is I was going to mention that you have your own YouTube channel.
Thank you.
Which has got an E on the end of Ross, Steve Ross. And there's also a link in the description to an email if people want to get some of your merch. If you want to buy a Peranican-styled shopfront.
If I ever shoot it, it's got to go somewhere. I don't want to put it in a box. Yeah, do you have a shop house? You want a smaller shop house inside your shop house?
Anyway, there's merch, and also if you go to Steve's Amazon, you go to Amazon and type in Steve Ross, you can buy any of his hundreds of books, and they're available. But
they're all about Thailand, if that encourages anybody. And thank you for the pimping. I appreciate that very much.
Well, I only get 90% commission. Do you think there's another novel in you?
No.
Why is that?
I have absolutely no desire to create in that medium anymore.
But you got the time.
Oh, I've got the time. I just don't have the inclination. I sat at a monitor and edited medical texts for 25 years. And now reading for me is a chore. And the process of creativity is completely organic at this point. I can't plan something, sketch out, outline, any of that. All I can do is get up and play with paper mache. And I just don't feel, and having this outlet every week, I come and I talk here, I talk on my channel. What's left? It used to be I had a newspaper column, a very popular newspaper column, and everything we say here, or I say on my channel, would have made a column for 1 week on a Sunday edition, and that would have been my outlet, my creative outlet. Now, there's just nothing impelling me to write. I still adore narrative. I'm still very interested in narrative. But, yeah.
This conversation came up with Baz, who was going to be at one stage the third grumpy old man, but never happened. But
the invitation's still open, Baz.
Baz was berating me for not reading as much as I apparently should. And I sort of admitted that I really don't read anymore because I used to, maybe even 10 years ago, I used to sort of use reading as a method of going to sleep. And I sort of what was the book I was stuck on? I think it was The Go-Between or something. And I just never got past the first page because I'd go...
Yeah.
And it became just a sort of a way that I'd go to sleep.
Yeah.
And
I weep for mankind. This is where literature is now.
And these days I'm listening to podcasts. I love listening to conversations between interesting people, much like this, Steve. And I don't read anymore.
No,
I'm horrified by the thought, but maybe we're sort of the not so much the art of writing, but that type of communication, maybe we've evolved or are evolving past it.
Oh, I think definitely. I don't think either of my children have read any of my books. They stare at their phones. Nothing. TikTok's 30 seconds. They tell whole stories. Japanese high school girls tell whole stories in 30 seconds on TikTok. The attention span is getting briefer and briefer and briefer and briefer, and more of the information is being passed visually than through language. And I mourn that, but my children are happy with their world they live in, and they don't miss reading Dad's books.
We'll be interested to hear what you think about this, because it seems that yes, the written word is well, I mean, I still sit and read the news each day, which is still the written word, but a lot of people say they'd rather listen to me read them the news rather than them
read it themselves.
Read themselves.
Sure, that's the idea of a digest.
Yeah.
I had a job for the last 8 years before I came here, where I worked 90 minutes away from my home. I had to drive 90 minutes to get to work and 90 minutes to get home, and I really enjoyed audiobooks in the car. I discovered a whole lot of writers and books that I never would have experienced otherwise, because that's what was available in the Las Cruces Public Library on the shelf of audiobooks. And for years on end, I listened 90 minutes out, 90 minutes back every day to some book, some author. It was great. It was fantastic.
I experienced the entire Harry Potter series through listening to Stephen Fry read them to me.
Yeah.
And every time I think or I see anything about Harry Potter...
that's the voice you hear.
Yeah, it's the voice.
I read the first Harry Potter book to the before and after school program and did every voice, every character voice, because by then the movies had come out and they knew what Hagrid was supposed to sound like. And I'm terrible at accents. I'm really awful at accents. Here's a little bit of audiobook trivia. There's an actor named Roy Dotrice, who is an old Vic-trained Shakespearean British actor, and he was Iago to Olivier's Othello and things like that. He's got a lot of chops, and he was picked to read the Game of Thrones novels, and he is in the Guinness Book of World Records as doing the most character voices in any recorded audio book. He does 400 voices in those 6 volumes. And to my ear, they all sound like this. He's got 3 accents. He's got Cockney, he's got downstairs, he's got upstairs, and maybe an Irish or a Scotsman thrown in. And for me, there's not 400 separate voices there, but it's fascinating to hear this guy go back and forth for 600 pages per book, 6 books. It's a huge undertaking. And if anybody's still interested, he makes an appearance in the TV show. He is the necromancer who created all the green fire that is used to destroy Stannis Baratheon's fleet. That actor is Roy Dotrice.
I've never seen one episode. I missed out.
Yeah, well, I enjoyed it very much until the last 2 seasons, and then the last 2 seasons sucked.
Jump the Shark?
Oh, Jump the Shark.
So many,
big time.
Many series Jump the Shark.
They do, and the last episode of the Game of Thrones is just spitting in the eye of the fans. It's terrible and insulting, and so I'll never go back. Typically, Lord of the Rings, I've seen 4 or 5 times, all the way through. I've even seen the stupid Hobbit movies. Typically, Star Wars, any big franchise, all the Marvel Comics movies, I'll go see them 2-3 times. I love that stuff. But not Game of Thrones. I'll never go back to Game of Thrones because they gave me the middle finger in that last episode.
Now, a question without notice. I'm still going to get to that other thing that Americans do.
And the Steve got it wrong, because that's what they're all waiting for.
Wrong, yes.
They want to hear what Steve screwed up.
So, did you actually have a look at that link I sent you on the weekend? The one that I said it's overly long and a bit quirky? Did you click on that?
I think so, yes.
The one about the movies?
Yes, why cinema's dead. Now it's really finally dead for sure.
The death of the movies.
Yeah.
And it was very interesting because over the past, 10 years, the cinema I've seen has been, well, what are you looking at?
The clock. I got to go see the district superintendent of schools at 3 o'clock.
Oh, you got another. We'll talk about that as well. A lot of things we will get to. Steve got it wrong. Another strange thing Americans do, and you're getting a job.
And surgery.
We're going to talk about surgery again.
Yeah, it's all Steve all the time, folks.
But, this was a very interesting YouTube clip, and maybe we could do a full program about it because it's another amazing art form that sort of developed and evolved over the past century, and it seems that it's coming to some sort of milestone, but not a good milestone. The whole Marvel movies, nobody's going to go and see them anymore. They've killed the Star Wars franchise. Indiana Jones, they've killed that off.
And again, nobody has the attention span to
right.
watch a feature-length film, including me. My bladder won't let me sit through a Martin Scorsese epic, a 3-hour Martin Scorsese
Take a little bottle
epic.
with you.
Yeah, a trucker's lavatory. I think his point is valid, and I think that diminishment of the attention span is a big part of it. Also, the fact that we're carrying that same movie, instead of going to a theater and sitting with strangers and paying $11 for a drink and a box of popcorn.
And all going, together. And
in 48 hours, that movie will be on the web for free.
Yeah.
So, most people who have a phone and know how to use, not me, I don't know how to do anything like that. But I'm sure my son has not sat in a theater and watched a movie in a long, long time.
You don't want to watch Lawrence of Arabia on this.
Nobody wants to watch Lawrence of Arabia now anyway. Well, magnificent film, but it's
I watched it
4
last
hours?
week.
It's 4 hours?
On my 75-inch TV.
Yeah, Florence of Arabia. And he's out there playing with his shadow. Yeah, and he's being watched by the burly guy.
There's some great quotes about he was called Florence of Arabia. And
now, wasn't that Noel Coward said if there's any more swish, he'd be Florence of Arabia.
If he was any prettier.
Any prettier.
If he was any prettier, It's Peter O'Toole. The late, great Peter O'Toole.
Yeah.
Now,
Steve got it wrong in real time.
We will get to Steve got it wrong. But this other thing that Americans do, tipping.
Oh, yeah.
So
sure.
You've ruined it for a lot of other Westerners who come to this lovely country. And I know when I pay my bill, often, either in cash or I do the scan thing, which I do almost universally now, people, the Thais, they look at me sort of like, where's the tip?
Do they?
Oh, yeah, I get that quite often because people like you go and throw another 10% on the bill.
No, it's because people like you renovate 2 beach houses and dump millions of I don't know how much, but you dump a lot of money into that. So everybody in town knows this guy has got tons of money. This guy they've known for 18 months and I've got no money, and they know it. So they don't. But I do tip all the time.
Well,
my nickname in Thai is Lung Tip, and it's a pun, it's a joke. Because I have a theater degree, and that means I have waited a lot of tables. I have lived on tips, and so I tip. I tip taxi drivers. I tip people in the entertainment venues.
As do a lot of Americans. It's a cultural thing.
Well, and it's also an economic thing. Our economic system is set up to keep down those people in the service industry and make them live on tips.
The wages are very low, but the tips are worthwhile.
The tips are every encounter is different. Everything. People who are gregarious and friendly to you and smiling, and women will order food and touch your arm and say, "Darling, would you mind making sure the croutons are on the side?" And they'll be very pleasant to you, and they'll walk out and not tip you. Some other surly bastard comes in and he complains about his steak and he tips you 25%. So you never know until the meal's over.
Well, I don't tip. And it's not because I'm not necessarily an non-generous. What's the negative? What?
No. Miserly?
Miserly,
It's not because you're miserly, penny pinching.
It's just culturally,
venal.
Australians don't tend to tip.
Yeah.
But I get the side eye sometimes when I'm paying for my meals. And it's all because of you.
Sorry. What can I do? I'm not going to stop tipping.
Stop tipping.
I'm not going to go back to everybody I've ever tipped and take my money back. Sorry, that's just, I cannot change the way I speak. I cannot change the way I walk.
I cannot change.
I've
got a tip for you.
What?
Be nice to your mother.
Ooh, man, that hurt, dude. That was deep. That one was deep.
Now, I'm going to read some messages to you.
To me?
Before I do, I'll preface this with, I did a story on Tim Newton today. By the way, very good news program. 5 days a week, Monday to Friday.
I watch it every day.
Up to episode 267 or something.
Yeah, see, if he was a better writer, he would have found an ending by now.
We're currently getting a bit of an earthquake here in Thai
Muang.
Sorry. So
Yeah.
Stop. That's good. Moving on. So the story was this morning, a Utah couple were visiting Thailand, and they decided, it didn't tell us where this happened, but they were on an elephant, riding an elephant. So they've got the sort of the basket, and it's on the elephant's back, and you sit in the... I
think it's called a howdah.
There you go.
Yeah. In India, I think it's called a howdah. I don't know what they call it here.
And they were riding the elephant, and then they said that Mahut at some stage, who's at the front, sort of, pushing the ears, which is sort of the way they steer the elephant, and patting it on the head, gave it a little bit of a click or some sort of instruction to the elephant, but the elephant wasn't terribly happy about it, and threw the Mahut off. And then they said they spent the next 30 minutes, the elephant continued to take them on the same tour, but with no Mahut. He was running behind, trying to sort of catch up with the elephant, calling, I don't know what the elephant's name was, but they just kept on
Jumbo.
going, sort of going, elephant, dear.
Excuse me, you have to pay extra for this.
Yes. So then, apparently, the elephant was getting very close to a cliff. I think cliff might have been exaggerating a bit, but obviously sort of a ravine or something. Was getting a bit dangerous, and the elephant started going faster. But it was making its way back to the village. I'm trying to do the story very quickly. And when it got to the village, the village people, YMCA, they decided they were going to try and stop the elephant, and they were giving it bananas and sugarcane, but the elephant, no. And it ended up stomping on some guy's motorcycle. And at this stage, it was just getting quite agitated and storming off. And these two people are still on the back. And they decided they're going to have to get off the elephant. So they jumped. And after they jumped, the elephant decided, well, thank you very much. And your prize is I'm going to put my head right, broke their backs. Mm-hmm. So they ended up being medevaced back to Utah after setting up a GoFundMe page, etc. As you do. But, of course, a lot of people were responding. And I was thinking to myself, I know how some of these people are going to respond. Oh, they deserve it. I knew some people would say that. We got some of those responses. But before I read those, Steve got it wrong last week.
Oh, yeah. Thanks to John Williams for pointing this out.
The writer of the Star Wars theme. And E.T.
That John Williams is my very good friend. He's lived in Phuket for 40 years. Very few people know this. Spielberg has to come to Rawai Beach to talk to John Williams. Anyway, John pointed out, last week we talked about elephants, and I said, in any breeding population, you need to keep a few uncut males. And elephants, when they're uncut, males, they go into musth, they get very wild.
Unneutered, I think.
Unneutered, uncastrated, still intact, not gelded. John pointed out that it is virtually impossible to breed elephants in captivity. That it's just nobody can do it. Well, 99%. It has failed 99%.
The elephants don't want to do it.
They don't want to do it. So perhaps in zoos in America or Europe, they can do things with syringes and vials to create a baby in captivity.
Turkey basters.
But yeah, turkey basters. And but any elephant you see in any context in captivity was captured as a baby from the wild. And when you see like a female elephant caring for a baby elephant, that's not her biological child. They are just herd animals, and they will instinctively gather in groups and protect each other. So I got that massively wrong, and thank you to John Williams for pointing that out.
So there you go. This week's episode of Steve Got It Wrong. We do need a theme. Maybe John Williams could write one for us. Sure,
yeah, I'll talk to him. I'll ask him. Yeah. I'm sure he's got scraps left over from Indiana Jones.
People responded today to the story about these. Their names were...
Very unfortunate people.
Mark Martin, which sort of has got like a stutter or a... Mark Martin.
Doc Martin.
And the other one, her name was Siri, and I'm sure she's had plenty of jokes over the years. Hey, Siri.
Yeah.
Oh, God, all my apples are going to start doing things now. Siri came up. Anyway, one of these people who doesn't have a name, and there you go, you can see it there, says, making money off capturing wild animals is not okay. You can do that in Australia, question mark? Like there's some sort of measure of animal liberation. That's karma for all the elephants that have been made to work for humans. Betty won't do it again. This person, another anonymous
Wait,
name.
who won't do it again? You mean the elephant won't stomp a tourist? Yeah, because the elephant's dead by now. Yeah.
Do you think so?
Oh, God, I would guess. Would you want to keep working with that elephant after it did that?
Well, I'd wonder if the mahout ever caught up with the elephant.
Yeah.
It didn't even tell us where it actually happened.
No, it didn't. And there was film. The guy was videoing the whole thing.
Yes.
He's up there for half an hour with his camera, and they're grinning and they're laughing. And, oh, isn't this a silly experience? And then right before they jump off, the video ends. So that's... but yeah, I would expect that elephant would have been put down by now. But as far as making money capturing animals in the wild, Jesus, in the U.S., that's a huge industry. We have people who bring orchids out of the Everglades. They bring gators out of the Everglades. You can hunt bison in Montana. You hunt deer in Iowa. The state will pay you to hunt deer in Iowa. And, you know, the difference between capturing a wild animal for the zoo or just shooting it and grinding it up into venison and giving it to the poor is a very thin line. So that question, can you do this in other countries? Yeah, there's a guy, the Mink Man. Go look at the Mink Man, fascinating YouTube channel. He has minks that he has trained to hunt rats in cattle yards. And these minks are caught in the wild, and he uses... Sorry, dude.
They cull kangaroos in Australia.
Yeah. There's a lot of wildlife getting culled all over the world, dude.
Medivac back to Utah seems risky, not to mention costly. Could have used the money at a good Thai hospital. Strange story. Some people say, oh, it's fake story. I said, yeah, along with a fake live video and fake witnesses.
Yeah, and you know, listen, if your GoFundMe was successful and you've got the money to go home where your family, because they've got broken backs and crushed pelvises, they're going to be flat on their backs for months.
Yeah.
You want your family around, man, and better to medevac them now than after they've had their pins put in. Right? They have to be absolutely immobile after the metal pins will be put in their spines. They have to be absolutely immobile for weeks. So better to move them now before all that surgery than wait. Yeah.
Imagine how bad it is for the elephants. Carrying all these ignorant people around every day. They are tortured and abused for the entertainment of humans. It's disgusting that this is still going on. Animals are not here for humans to abuse for fun.
No, the Bible says otherwise.
So, interesting that Thais, they're quite cool about having these animals for entertainment. South Koreans, they seem to enjoy these shows. Russians seem to enjoy these shows.
The Indians, every wedding, if you can afford it, you rent an elephant.
Yes.
And the groom rides in on an elephant. Yeah. So unclutch your pearls a little bit there. I agree, there is animal abuse. I come from a farm state. The way we slaughter chickens and pigs in Iowa is absolutely grotesque. So I get that. I understand the ethics of non-cruelty to animals. But at the same time, we cohabitate with these animals. They live in our spaces, we live in theirs. And we have to come to some sort of détente. We have to be able to manage their populations. And they don't know the tourists on their backs are ignorant. That's you. That's you putting judgment. These two people from Utah could be college professors. They could be, geniuses you don't know. It's not ignorance. It's not ignorance. It's just a different ethic than you currently hold.
They've killed millions and millions of krill here.
Yeah.
Over the past 2 months.
For a snack.
Millions.
To make a snack. Yeah, billions of those little things.
But apparently things like elephants and dolphins are somehow different from other animals.
Yeah, the closer they are in physiology to human beings, the more likely we are to show them sympathy, and the larger their eyes and their heads. Because human babies are born with great big eyes, so human beings are programmed to feel compassion for something with great big eyes. And so your Facebook feed is full of lemurs and owls and cattle and sheep,
kittens.
Kittens, things with great big eyes.
What a beautiful blue bird! I saw those the other day. Iridescent blue wings on these beautiful birds, and a stripe down the across the eyes.
Yeah,
you'd look good with that.
Chris Loopy could tell us what that bird is. Apparently, Thailand is great for bird watching or birding. It's great for that. There's a
ornithology.
He's gorgeous. Well, ornithology would be the study academically.
Study of birds, right.
Birding is the hobby. He runs cross country. Chris does, and he keeps a journal of the birds he sees around Chiang Mai.
Who's Chris?
Chris Loopy. He's another writer. He's another writer who writes about Thailand.
You're
Excuse
a
me.
tight group. You've had too many tacos.
Yeah.
Do we talk about the tacos? We talked about the tacos.
We talked about tacos.
And this one, why oh why are people still riding elephants? There should be a warning about this. It's a cruel practice and it's also dangerous. Please stop.
No, well, there's warnings everywhere. You just placed one.
At least this person put their name to it. It's from Maureen O'Brien. So well done to you, Maureen,
Ms.
for
O'Brien,
at least putting your name to it.
Yeah, and I agree to that. But those warnings are everywhere. You know, who comes to Thailand and doesn't, look at YouTube and see about elephants? I mean, if that's part of your plan to go pay to ride an elephant around, wouldn't you think you'd spend a few minutes looking it up and seeing what the shizzle is?
Interestingly, there was a time when there was a dolphin show coming to Phuket, the first dolphin show, and it was a bit controversial, and I've sort of got a bit of a thing for dolphins, and I didn't really think it was a good idea to have them in a special zoo, and they were going to come from, I think from Ukraine, as it happened. We were covering it on the Tiger at the time, early Tiger days, when it was just a radio station and a bit of a Facebook page. But I went down to this dolphinarium as it was being constructed with 2 or 3, a camera person and a microphone thing and an assistant, my sort of wardrobe department, the hairdressers, they all came, of course.
So this is their fault.
Yes. And somebody came out and they said, what are you doing on our property? I said, we just wanted to speak to somebody about the construction and then where are the dolphins coming from? And out come the guns.
Whoa.
And on video, I've got these guys pointing guns at me saying, get off the property. So I've done my duty to try and protect the animals
there you go,
in Phuket.
Maureen. Yeah, I have never done anything that dramatic in the way of saving the planet. But I think that if in this day and age you haven't heard about, the tigers in the temples, right? And we got the gibbons out of the bars in Phuket, 30 years ago. They cannot be retrained to live in the wild. We discovered that. And yet there is still apparently a gibbon rehabilitation program on Phuket selling T-shirts. But it has long been proven you cannot rehabilitate these wild animals.
Well, I also backed the campaign to release Milo, the orangutan from the Phuket Zoo, which thankfully is closed down. That was a horrendous place. And I've done my animal campaigns in the past.
We all do what we can, Maureen.
Sure. But the elephant one, as we discussed in last week's program, is very complicated. It's got a lot of history, and you can't just release these magnificent beasts out into the wild. They will just make a mess of things because they're big and they eat a lot.
And there's not much wild left. They'll find their way to human, habitation. They'll go through the garbage until somebody shoots them.
And they eat a lot.
Like bears in America. A lot of bears are shot every year digging in somebody's garbage can.
Now, we do want to just finally talk today about what you're doing at 3 o'clock this afternoon, because you're going on a job interview.
Well, yeah. When I was getting ready to go to Phuket are you
going to wear this?
I don't know. Probably wouldn't hurt. No, but I'll wear long pants and closed shoes.
Those pink hot pants are fine.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a pretty conservative town. At any rate, as long as I just don't read books to them in the library. So the guy next door who had the failed broccoli store, he's a mover and a shaker and a schmoozer and a back patter and a glad hander, and you can't trust him as far as you can throw him. But before allegedly. But before I went to Phuket, he said, hey, they're looking for an English teacher at the high school. Would you like to volunteer for a couple hours? Or he didn't say volunteer. He said, would you like to work there for a couple hours every week? And I said, well, at the time I was thinking about a visa. And I thought, well, maybe, this would come with a work permit and allow me a work visa. So he said, okay, I'll make an appointment. And I went to Phuket. And while I was in Phuket, the retirement visa was neat and tidy, and it was tied right up. And I thought, if you reapply for a work visa and you've got a work permit from the local high school, now you're dependent on that job. You cannot lose that job. Then you start all over with your visa, and who knows what happens every time you start afresh. So I think, unless it's, what I might like to do is trade some English instruction for some Thai instruction. If they've got a teacher, a third grade teacher, who can teach me a little kok kai, then I might trade. I might barter my time for her time. But the only benefit I could see now would be my human capital in this community would increase fairly substantially. Right now I'm the crazy guy who lives on the beach in a house full of Barbie dolls. If I was the guy who showed up reliably every week in long pants and a clean shirt and shaved and actually did teach these little kids something, well, maybe that would increase my standing, social capital in the community. At any rate, so 3 o'clock, I've got an appointment. I don't know where I'm going. I don't know where the high school is.
We may or may not see Steve ever again.
Hopefully, he will come and fetch me and take me there.
And then tomorrow, you're off to the hospital.
Yeah, it's really weird. He said, come Friday. He said, I've scheduled your surgery for Monday.
We're talking about the doctor now.
Yeah.
We're switching stories.
It's a hernia repair, very simple thing. He said, I'm going to schedule you for Monday, which is my 66th birthday, November 6th. And he said, but I want you to come Friday because we're going to test you and test your blood and everything else. And if I have an opening on Saturday, we'll check you in. And we'll do the surgery Saturday instead of Monday. But I may send you home again on Friday and tell you to come on Sunday again and check in. So it's a lot of trips over the mountain in the rain, it's 2 trips over the mountain in the rain. But it starts tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. I'm going to pack a bag and go to the hospital, and maybe they will check me in, and maybe they will not. Yeah.
Okay, so you could be away for a couple of weeks.
Well, I hope not. God, I hope not. It would be, when it happens, it'll be stay overnight one night and come.
Will you be able to sit up on a...
Well, I've never had this done before. I've transcribed it 100 times. I've never had it done before to me. Hopefully, I am fairly fit, and I think that I should be able to stumble around. And certainly sit in front of a microphone, I would hope that they would give me enough tramadol that I would be able to do that.
And in the meantime, we can just ponder the amazing thought of an American teaching English to people.
I know. Yeah.
Who would have thought?
What's up, babe?
So we've got the sound of thunder looming in the background as we're about to get one of those regular afternoon dumps we're getting at the moment.
Fa Panga Sao Phuket. The sky in Panga is like women in Phuket. Changeable. I'm sorry. Go on.
All right.
It's a common expression.
I thought you were going to talk about moisture or something. Anyway, so we do wish you well for your visit to the
Thank you.
School, to the surgeon.
Thank you.
And if they happen to decide to operate tomorrow and we don't get to see you early, we sort of wish you well with your surgery.
Thank you very much.
We wish you the
Merry
best
Christmas.
for your birthday, because your birthday will happen between now and the next grumpy old man.
Yeah.
So you'll be 66.
Yes.
So you're the senior of the grumpies.
Oh, yeah. That's why you all pay me such obvious respect.
And with that, we thank you very much for dropping in. Don't forget, Steve Ross, with an E, his YouTube channel, and he's got the merch, and he's got the Amazon books.
And some pretty good videos, I think, if you go back far enough and look. Yeah.
And a bit of a preview at what's coming up.
Yeah.
You'll get to it. You'll get the love of building the sets and doing the stories again.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
You just need to just stick with the editing. You'll figure it out. All right, good. And thank you. Subscribe to the channel. What else do we have to say?
Share. The algorithm likes it if you share.
Speaking of share, it's her. No, I don't know when her birthday is. Thanks for dropping in, and we'll see you next time. Thank you for coming.
I love you guys. Thank you very much.